The President of the United States.
The President of the United States.
The President of the United States.
President of the United States.
The Commander-in-Chief.
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 And the sole decider on whether an American nuke gets dropped. 30 years after the end of the Cold War, nightmares of nuclear Armageddon have retreated from the popular imagination. But with 9 countries now possessing nuclear weapons and upgrading their arsenals, the threat of nuclear war is as high as ever, and systems and strategies that were created to confront a Soviet threat that no longer exists remain in place. One such remnant is the presidential sole authority to launch nuclear weapons.
I have absolute authority as Commander-in-Chief and the sole authority to use a nuclear weapon.
Most military decisions follow a chain of command. Operations and war plans are read, modified, and enacted by multiple people at multiple points. The President, as Commander-in-Chief, takes advice and counsel from military officials and often lets them act somewhat independently, as long as they're following the guidance set by the President. When it comes to nuclear weapons, only the President can legally order their use. Neither the legislature nor the military can stop a legal order from the President to use a nuclear weapon. To do so would be treason. The President is also not legally required to consult with anyone or receive any other approval before ordering a nuclear strike. Presidential sole authority was born at the beginning of the nuclear age in an effort to limit the use of nuclear weapons. Shortly after the U.S. nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, General Leslie Groves, director of the Manhattan Project to create nuclear weapons, wrote to Truman's Army Chief of Staff, General George Marshall, telling him a third nuclear bomb would be ready for use in about 1 week. With a short, handwritten reply, General Marshall introduced presidential sole authority for the first time. In 1948, Truman explained his rationale for the policy, saying he did not want to have some dashing lieutenant colonel decide when would be the proper time to drop one. Originally established to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of overeager military officials, presidential sole authority was cemented during the Cold War due to a need for speed. If a nuclear attack could kill a sitting president before he had time to order a counterattack, it would create a clear incentive for adversaries to strike first. In the event that the Soviet Union launched a large surprise attack of nuclear missiles, known as a bolt from the blue, at the United States, the president would have just 10 minutes to decide how to respond. Not really enough time to gather advisors for a meeting, let alone deliberate and come to an agreement. Favoring speed over consultation, the decision to launch was left in the president's hands. In order for the president to be able to launch nuclear weapons at such quick notice, a military aide travels with them at all times carrying the nuclear football, a black leather briefcase holding everything the president would need to order the use of nuclear weapons, including pre-approved target options and secure communications equipment. If a president wants to use nuclear weapons, they can simply open the briefcase, call the Pentagon, and make the order. Presidential sole authority and the huge concentration of power that it creates has not gone unnoticed by presidents or their more cautious advisors. 2 presidents, Nixon and Trump, were reportedly so unpredictable that members of their own cabinets attempted to insert themselves into the nuclear chain of command as an ad hoc check on the president's power. Neither had the legal authority to do so, and subordinates would not have been obligated to comply with counter-orders from these individuals. They are legally required to answer to the president, and the president alone. Once launched, there is no way to recall nuclear missiles or disarm them in flight. Given how simple it is for a president to order an attack, maybe more deliberation should be brought into the process. Some experts suggest sole authority should be reformed to put more checks on the president's power, at the very least in cases when the United States is not under imminent nuclear attack by an adversary. There is no perfect system for preventing nuclear use as long as nuclear weapons exist, but as long as they do, consider who you want to have the sole authority to use them at their whim. When you vote for president, remember that you are handing over the most advanced arsenal of the most devastating weapon in the history of mankind. war.